There we go.
Hey, Kelly. Good to have you. Lester. Wow. Thanks for joining us, David Wicks as Fife. Chris Carr's in the house with the Mill Creek Alliance. That's great. Kelly, fantastic. And see Lester's getting on. Shannon Hunt. Andy, thank you. We have ODNR in the house. Thank you very much. Catherine and Mayor Cleves, always engage with us from Bellevue. Thanks so much for joining us. And Kristen, thank you. So Stephen, thank you, buddy. People are jumping on here.
Thank you, Greg.
And this is our little agenda. So as you get on, take a moment to enter into the chat your name and organizational affiliation so folks will know who's in the house. So Janet, how's the flooding up there in Augusta? I love your reels. I see them every day.
Yeah, too close for comfort.
Wow. And is
too close for comfort.
Is the ferry operating? I can't imagine.
No.
No.
No. No. No, they've got it tied up. I mean, it's up there.
Yeah, I see it's tied up to the tree. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So.
Gotcha. Well, always good to see you. It's a good way for me to monitor what's going on, not being there at the moment. So thank you.
Mm-hmm. You're welcome.
Well, wonderful, folks. I see people are putting their name and organizational affiliation in the chat. That's great. We appreciate it. And we'll start in a few minutes as more people get on. So you had some snow there too, Janet, huh? Yeah.
Yes. I feel like it's the movie, The Groundhog Day?
Yeah.
We wake up yesterday with snow, and then the sun came out, kind of melted it, and then woke up this morning with snow again. So, but it's cold out there this morning. So.
Well, that's great in beautiful Augusta, Kentucky.
Yeah.
All right. Dave Hudson, I see you're on. Wonderful. And Mayor Cerisi, good to have you there, buddy, from West Point. That's great. So again, please put your name and organization affiliation in the chat so everybody will know who's here. So Chris Klingman, wonderful to see you, buddy. We got Claremont County Parks in the house. Kim Hides, thank you, Kim. Oldham County Tourism, great to have you. All right. People are starting to join us. Mary Jane, thank you for joining us as well.
I'm trying.
And Mary
Can't guarantee anything.
Yeah, I hear you. Mary Feldkamp, good to have you, and I hope you'll chip in as we discuss the challenge. That's great.
Yes. Hi, Rooster.
Hey, good to see you. Thank you.
Sure. I'd like to jump in and say, as a dedicated Ohio Riverway member, I'm actually in the river right now. I'm at home, and my house is completely surrounded by water. So I am in the Ohio River. So there you go.
So, Mayor, are you able to, what do you have to do? Paddle or take a rowboat to get to your car?
Normally we would kayak out, but the water's frozen. So we're kind of stuck.
Oh.
There's 3/4 of an inch of ice on everything. So
oh my gosh.
You can walk on it, but you step through it.
This is real-time flood experiences you're sharing. My God.
Absolutely. We're supposed to crest about 5 o'clock this afternoon, finally, and it's going to be just about 4 inches shy of getting in my garage. But we do have people that we have water in several people's homes here on Riverview, and of course the road's closed. And
yeah.
But this is the first time we've had to deal with it in this cold weather. And normally I have a rowboat, we kayak in and out. It's not that big a deal, but
wow.
Evidently my kayak's got to be an icebreaker today.
Wow.
Well, we're cheering for you. Be careful. Wow.
Oh, it's the beauty of living on the river.
Well, you're the first person in all these calls who's ever actually reported that surrounded by water.
On an island.
All right, we're cheering for you. Give us a report later on in the meeting if things change. All right. Well, thank you for joining us, folks. Susan Brown, thank you very much. Scott, good to have you here. Matt, good. Pam, wow, folks are joining us. Please put your name and organizational affiliation in the chat. I see that Alan Hurst just did. Thank you, Alan, our key guy with Indiana Trails. Well, with Indiana on trails. So thank you. Austin, good. It's good to see you. City of Aurora is in the house. But please put your name and organization affiliation there in the chat, and we'll take it from there. And I see that our great, wonderful friend Andrea Ireland just joined us. And Andrea has been with the National Park Service for over 25 years and just announced yesterday that she is retiring, her own decision, and she'll have a brand new life of retirement and paddling and having great fun. So Andrea, who played such a key role with us, it's great to have you here. And Amber, Christy, great to have you all here. Wow. Brandy, thank you. Brian. Ooh. Francis Manone's in the house. Mayor Cotterill, great. Thank you from Maysville. Always good to have you. And Jeff, wonderful. We have Claremont County Convention and Visitors Bureau in the house, so thank you. Jessica, thank you for joining us. Good. Josh, great. Claremont County Parks once again. Kelly Rudolph, the head of ACA for the state of Ohio. Thank you. Lynn, thank you for joining us as well. Mary Allen on our board from New Richmond. Okay, Shannon is here. So I think we are ready to go, Forrest. And so, first of all, folks, thank you so much for joining us. If you please take a moment to put your name and organizational affiliation in the chat. We have 58 people, but only 33 of you have done that. But this is a good way for you all to know who else is in the house. And you can then follow up in the chat if you'd like directly with people and post your own comments, of course, during the course of the discussion. So I see we have Tracy Coe, we have Chris Lawrence. Wonderful. Wow.
Perfect.
Great. So this is one of our monthly meetings of the Ohio Riverway Coalition, and it's a chance for folks throughout the network up and down the river to connect with what the organization is doing, to get updates, and also to participate in discussions about relevant topics. And we've decided also to add, whenever possible, a featured speaker, a presentation that would, we think, be beneficial for everybody to hear, and a chance for interaction and dialogue. So without further ado, we have a series of quick reports that I think would be of interest to a lot of folks that Forrest will facilitate, and then he'll introduce our guest speaker after we hear from Greg Dale, who's helping us with the strategic planning process.
Yes. So
take it away.
to outline the agenda very quickly, we're going to start with the challenge, move on to our visitors guide, announce a new hire, talk about strategic planning, thank our members that have joined or renewed their membership so far in 2025. And then, as Brewster said, we'll have Chris Schack, and then an open discussion at the end, which highly encourage you to stick on until then. So to kick it off, the dates are set for the Ohio Riverway Challenge. Instead of hearing about it from me, though, I would like to introduce Mary Feldkamp. She has generously volunteered to be the coordinator for the challenge, recent graduate from Ohio State, and I'll turn it over to her to introduce herself and talk about the challenge.
Yeah, thanks, Forrest. Hi, everyone. I'm Mary. I am the Sears Volunteer Challenge Coordinator. I am new to the team, and it sounds like Brewster and Forrest might be familiar with a lot of you, so I'm really looking forward to maybe get to know some of you guys. I know I've already been chatting with a few of you over email, so I'm super excited to see you all on here. But yeah, we will get right into the challenge. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you guys, and we will sort of walk through just a little bit about the challenge. So yeah, so this year the challenge is going to be May 5th to 15th. It's going to be 10 days of paddling. It'll be 286 miles in total in two 30-foot Voyager canoes. And this year we also have a houseboat coming along with us. We're super excited about that. Our goals for this year are to stop in the river towns all along, which I will scroll down so that we can see those. to stop in these river towns and really connect with each town, create partnerships if we haven't already, but really foster those partnerships and connections between us and those communities. Each night we will be eating at local restaurants, hopefully meeting with some local community members and really fostering that connection. And then we also are hoping to raise awareness for the Ohio River and its recreation opportunities. I know I'm from Cincinnati. I know sometimes the Ohio can get a bad rap, but it's absolutely stunning, such an amazing asset to all of our towns. So that is one of our main goals, is to raise awareness for the Ohio. And then also our third goal, amongst many other small ones, is to connect students to opportunities on the Ohio River. So we're really hoping to get some college students to sign up for the trip this year. Their fees will be waived. So if you all, or any of you, if any of you are students on this, I don't know if many of you are, but if you know any students that might be interested, definitely forward them our information. I'll be dropping the links in the chat to the sign up and more information about the trip overall, but their fees will be waived. We'll have some opportunities for science engagement. We'll be doing some water quality testing, and we're hoping our houseboat can be a little bit of a floating lab that is still being developed, but there will be some awesome opportunities to really engage with the river. On our page, and if you just look up Ohio Riverway Challenge, it'll show up, but I'll drop this link in the chat. We have some more videos from last year that you can look into. We also have our trip report from last year that you can look into if you want some more information. This really goes through a lot of different stuff, covers the whole trip. But yes, so that is some information about the trip. If we have the apply button here. So this will kind of walk you through applying. We have the application page is really more of a sign up page. Anyone who applies will get accepted if there are seats left on the trip. Right now we have about 9 spots left on the trip. And the application closes April 1st. So again, if you or anyone you know is interested in signing up, we encourage you to do that quickly, because it'll probably it'll probably fill up sooner than April 1st. You can join for the full trip, or the first half of the trip, or the latter half of the trip. But yeah, this will walk you through the sign up. And then last piece is that we are welcoming sponsors. So several of you have already shown your interest and committed to being sponsors, and we are extremely grateful for that. This trip really couldn't happen with all of you, but we again are welcoming sponsors, and this is our page for that. This is a link on the challenge page. You can read through this, and if you're interested in being a sponsor, you can email Forrest at forrest@ohioriverway.org. And again, I will drop these emails and links in the chat so that you guys all have easy access. But yeah, that's all I got. Forrest, if you have anything else to add.
You covered everything. Thank you. We are so excited to have you making this trip possible, Mary. Yeah, and if any of you have any questions, particularly about how to join us, or as we're coming through your community, shoot Mary an email at challenge@ohioriverway.org. And Janet, to answer your question, we moved it up to May, partially to try to fit better with student schedules, and B, because of the availability of some of our volunteers with River City Paddle Sports. So we'll see how it goes at this earlier date. Also curious to see how the weather treats us. Perfect. The next item on the agenda is the visitor's guide that we are publishing by the end of this April. Jess with our team is managing all of that, but she is under the weather today. I believe she's on, but I will speak to it, but otherwise Jess would be. The great news is that we have surpassed the expectations we had for this year, and what we did in 2023. So in 2023, we had 52 pages and fewer than 40,000 copies. This year, we've bumped it up to 68 pages, and we anticipate having 100,000 copies to distribute throughout Indiana, Kentucky, and Ohio. Because we have bumped up the number of pages in the guide, we can still accept any final ads. If you were chomping at the bit to get in the guide, we would love to have you. We still have a bit more space. Drop me a line or the team at Cincy Magazine if they've been in touch with you. We're very excited. What I would add there, and there will be plenty of opportunities for this, but if you would be interested in having copies of the guide to distribute, put that in the chat. Sophie from our team is watching the chat and is going to make a running list. But we will be coming through during the challenge, that May 5th through the 15th, with our support vehicles chock full of boxes of the guide, and we will be glad to distribute them in person then to A, see you all, but B, to also cut down on some of those shipping costs. So we'll have this already by the end of April, and we were very excited to make that happen. Jess, am I forgetting anything? Let me double check the notes you sent.
I don't think so. Could you mention the calendar of events?
Yes, the annual events. So, yeah, shoot us an email as well, or drop a message in the chat if there is an annual event you would love to have covered in the guide. We're planning on having a big long list. Currently, we're planning as though this guide will last 2 years, as our previous one did. Maybe that changes and we do an annual guide, but for now we're really wanting to highlight annual events that happen over and over and have a big long list. So, yeah, Jess, that's the one thing you asked me to say, and I knew I forget, and I did. But perfect. Perfect. Well, I think that is it for the guide. Moving along, I believe Kelly is on the call. Are you here? I think Kelly Hess is here. In any case, we have hired Kelly to serve as a social media fellow on our team. She is currently a board member as well. She's the executive director of Paddle Perry down in Tell City, Indiana. And we're greatly excited for this expanded capacity. Her focus is going to be on water vertical videos, so like TikToks and Reels, to help bolster our social media and our efforts to regionally brand the corridor and show how beautiful the river is. But if you ever have any ideas for that sort of content, always reach out to Jess. Always welcome social media ideas. I mean, also say there, for social media or for the guide, we always welcome photos as well. So we are currently in the final process of collecting photos for the guide. If there's anything incredible that you think we should have and wouldn't want to miss, because we rely on volunteer photographers like you all. And I see Susan's on the chat, and John Nation and Joe Pollock, and Melissa Brierly Burkhart. Okay.
Hey, Forrest.
Hey, Kelly.
Hey, sorry, I was having some technical difficulties, but thank you for that. And I'm really excited about this opportunity, and I just wanted to say a little something.
Perfect. Did I miss anything in that introduction?
No, that sounded great. Thank you.
All right, perfect. Good deal. All right. The next item, real quick, I wanted to introduce Greg Dale. We are moving forward with some formal strategic planning here at the Ohio River Way, and Greg Dale is going to be managing that for us. It's going to happen this year. This is a top-level strategic planning process focused on top-level goals, and also defining what the Ohio River Way is and what our mission is. When you ask someone that, we get a lot of great answers, but I think everyone's answers are just a little bit different, which is part of why we're doing this process. And it's our first formal strategic planning since the rebirth of the Ohio River Way from the Ohio River Recreation Trail. So Greg, if you're on, it'd be great if you could introduce yourself.
Great, thanks, Forrest. Hi, I'm Greg Dale, even though apparently on my screen it shows me as Sophie for some reason. I'm not sure why that is, but so I am with McBride Dale Clarion, which is a planning consulting firm in Cincinnati. I actually live in Columbia, Tusculum, and if I lean out and look out my window right now, I can see the Ohio River right across to Kentucky. So it's an issue that's always been. Oh, thanks. Somebody changed my name there. So I'm really happy to be involved in this. We're just kicking this process off. So I've been in the process of immersing myself in all things Ohio Riverway, and just getting to know everybody. I've talked to the executive committee, to the board. So just trying to understand what's going on right now. But basically, as you probably, are aware, strategic plan is really just trying to answer a couple of questions. Who are we? What do we want to be? And how do we get there? And so we've got a fairly, I think, short and sweet process outline for this. It's about a 2 to 3 month process. You, in terms of your involvement, you can expect to see a survey questionnaire form that we're working on that you should be getting here in the near future. It'll be a mix of ranking things like surveys do, but also plenty of opportunity for open-ended answers and for you to share your vision and really just anything else that you think we need to know in this process. So, you can start thinking about questions like what are we doing well? What can we do better at? How can we improve on collaborations? What kind of forces and trends are we facing in the future that we need to be prepared for? What is it that we're actually trying to achieve along the river? What are our priorities? All those sorts of strategic questions that we're going to be getting into here. So, we look forward to getting into that. This is my, I think, third coalition meeting. I've kind of blended into the background in previous ones, just kind of watching. So just trying to get a sense of the unique personality of this coalition. Every entity, every initiative, every kind of collaboration like this is unique. This one strikes me as having a lot of energy, a lot of passionate people with a wide range of interests. And I think, the challenge or, the opportunity here is to try to figure out how to corral that and try to create something that's bigger than any of you are doing on your own. I think that's really what the Ohio Riverway is all about, is about trying to catalyze things that, enlarge the footprint. So I'm happy to try to answer any questions that you have, but otherwise you can be looking forward to a survey as the next step for you all.
Perfect.
Anything you want to add?
I think the only thing I would add is that before we settle on the final version of the strategic plan, we do want to make it available to you all for public comment, potentially using one of our standing coalition meetings. Yes, but that's perfect. Thank you so much, Greg. We think this is going to be really, really important to our organization, and excited to step back and think about what we would like the Ohio Riverway to be in the future, and what are the challenges and opportunities we need to be thinking about through all of our work.
Thank you.
Perfect. In terms of committee updates, I will open the floor to any of our committee chairs or members if there are updates there. But since we are meeting monthly now, and some of our committees meet every other month or quarterly, I know some of you may not have updates. I think our committees may not have met this past month. It will likely be this coming month. So the last thing then on my agenda before turning it over to Chris Schack is a quick thank you to everyone that has renewed or joined the Ohio Riverway since the start of the year. So I'll pop that up on the screen right quick here. There we go. Yeah. So the Ohio Riverway is a coalition. We rely on membership dues partially to fund our work. But I would say more importantly, our membership dues are a way for us to show that folks along the river have bought into our vision. And I mean, they start at $100 or $250, depending upon the type of organization you are. So thank you to everyone that has joined or renewed since the start of the year, as well as everyone that has been an active member over the years and currently is an active member. We have been doing our membership renewals roughly quarterly. So chances are you will hear from me or Sophie on our team at some point in the future as we continue to do these membership renewals. But just wanted to give a quick thank you there. All right. And with that, it is time to move over to Chris Schack's presentation. Chris Schack is the co-owner, along with his wife, of Schack's Yaks. Many of you may be familiar with his work. We're very excited that he has moved into the realm of kayak rental kiosk, as well as kayak lockers where you can store your own personal kayaks. So Chris, if you were on, I will let you go ahead and introduce yourself and take this away.
Hey everybody, good morning. Hopefully everybody's staying dry and warm. It's been a little interesting out there. Luckily all the kiosks are off the water right now. So as Forrest said, I'm the owner of Schack's Yaks. My wife who she was hoping to join the webinar. She's actually taking care of our daughter right now. So there's a little bit of a sickness going on in our house right now. So it's interesting. But anyways, this is our 5th year in service. We've actually opened during COVID back in 2020. We have initially started out doing the mobile service. We had a store for a few years. We then moved from that to doing the kiosk options. We then started doing the personal storage options also. We've added a bunch of spots this past year, and we have a lot of pending spots too that we are hoping to move forward on. I'm actually really excited that I looked through the chat group, or I'm sorry, the attendance group, and I actually saw that every one of our locations is actually on here with a representative, which is really cool. So hopefully if I say anything on here that I may not be able to answer, hopefully they can help chime in and highlight something that we may have brought to their community this past season. With that being said, our locations that we currently hold, we started out in Augusta. So we have Janet Hunt on here from Augusta Tourism. We moved to Newport. We have a kiosk option now in Newport also. Kiosk in Newport is also complemented with the personal storage option. So that is a different thing that we have offered, and it was a need that was, I guess you could say, was met by community members. Jen Shepard is on here on the call too. She helped get a lot of that stuff moving forward down there in Newport. That was a need that we initially saw with people not having a place to store their kayak in an urban environment. So that helped, provide a shelter for their kayak, either seasonal or all year long. If we all kayak and paddle and whatnot, we can all pretty much agree there's probably 2 things we don't like about the sport of kayaking or paddling, and that is usually storing it or hauling it somewhere. So luckily we have adapted a way that you can store it once or bring it every season. So that it kind of makes paddling a little bit more feasible for some people. So Jen's on here from Newport, West Point, Kentucky. That's a new one we just added before Christmas. I see the mayor; he's on here too. That'll be an interesting ad down there with the Salt River. That's a river that I've never actually kayaked on myself, but I did a lot of research into it. Reached out to the Army Corps of Engineers to find out on water flows, and I think that'll be a good asset for that community down there, which they are just a little bit south of Louisville. So I'm sure they will attract a lot of people from the Louisville area there. And then we also have Rhonda on here today too from Kenton County Parks Department. We just secured that location last week. So we actually went to the fiscal court meeting and everything got secured on that. And we are in the process of doing the final paperwork on getting that kiosk placed over there at Doe Run Lake. And that is in Kenton County. And that is actually our first lake option. We've actually done everything on rivers inside waterways. So we have a few more that are up and coming that have not been announced yet. And they are in the trial stage with their government agencies of reaching out or doing RFPs. And we will hopefully have some of those announced soon. Something I wanted to mention too, before I get into my PowerPoint here, something that we have offered to these communities and we continue to offer is providing like a river sweep or a park cleanup. So that is something that we have been doing. We started doing this past year, and we actually have a few more we're going to add this year. So New Richmond, we've always done that. We're going to actually continue doing New Richmond this year and their cardboard boat race. We're happy to help out with the river sweep before that. And then Mill Creek Alliance, I see Chris Carr, he's on here too from Cincinnati area. That is another location we're hoping to move forward on too. Me and Chris been in communications for a while about getting something on the Mill Creek. We're happy to help out with the river sweep there this year. Newport's another one, and then Doe Run are the other 2 locations. So we have 4 locations as of right now that we're looking to help out with river sweeps. You may ask, why would a kayak kiosk company want to focus on river sweeps and stuff like that? It is our goal to be involved in your community as much as we can. So background with me, I work as a firefighter paramedic for the city of Newport. One of the biggest goals of mine with having our kiosk is safety. And we are actually now putting together a training program where we can actually come into your community. And some people on this call probably would not know that because I'm still in the process of making it. But we are looking to come down to your fire department. And I am a state fire instructor, so I'm able to come and give your guys training hours to go over water emergencies, tell them who we are, what we do, and kind of go over, some random things that they might not think about. But we want them to be fully prepared for the day that they have to use those skills. That is something we are looking to add this upcoming season, is the community outreach of our company with coming down and doing a training night with your local volunteer or paid fire department to help out with water rescue and emergencies. So with that, let's see here. Trying to think. I can let me go ahead and get into the shared side of this, Forrest. Share screen. Okay. Oh, it's going to ask me all these things now. Hold on. I may not be able to share. Hold on. Let me try it again. Okay. Here we go. Okay. I guess let me know when it pops up here. Did it start sharing? No.
Okay. Not seeing it yet. Is that PDF you sent me?
Yeah, if you want to open that up, I'm trying this one more time. I think it's blocking it for some reason.
Okay, cool. I will pull that up real quick.
Okay. So this here, what Forrest is going to pull up is what we send out to the communities that are looking for this, for our kiosk option or our storage option. Now, they both look very similar, as you can see in the picture there in the top left corner. So on the left, there's actually a kiosk, and on the right, those are two storage options. We try to make these, we build these actually in-house. I build these myself. I've been building them all winter long. So we try to build these so they look exactly the same, so they can actually be bolted together and secured, and they can also be moved from your waterfront. Now, the picture that we actually have there is actually Newport. And that actually, I went down and checked the other day when I was at the firehouse. If we had those kiosks placed there right now, the water would be up to the third door, so almost to the roof. So it is very important the way we build these. We move these in the winter time to a storage option elsewhere. We have in Augusta, we have a trailer that we use, and we move that off the water. I don't know, Janet, how high the water is. I saw one of the council members, Chris Robinson, posted something the other day, and it looked like that kiosk would probably be about, I don't know, 2 or 3 feet deep in water right now too. So we try to get these buildings built so we can move these to secure locations for the off season. Now, we actually have kayaks placed in these storage options too, and those get moved off the water. And the agreement we have with when people place their personal kayak or watercraft in that locker, it basically says that, hey, we're going to have it on season. During the season, it'll be on site, but off season, it'll be off site. So that could be anywhere from a football field away from the river, so it doesn't, get donated to another community, or it could be placed elsewhere, so that way it's not, having flooding issues throughout the winter time when we know obviously the river is going to get higher. So that is the personal kiosk and the storage option there. You can see that. So the picture here is the kiosk. Now, kayakers, they come up, they scan a QR code. They're on the door, and when they scan the QR code, they agree on the app. And then after they agree on the app, then they go and it'll unlock the door. There's a life vest in there. There's a paddle, and then the kayak, and they take it out on the water, and then they come back. All the kayaks have GPS on them. I actually was able to, I think, Janet, you got the one this past year. That was a trial spot with Augusta, with us placing the GPS on there. And I think Janet can maybe agree with me on this. It was very surprising on how far those kayaks went. They went about 3 miles away from the kiosk location in the waters that a lot of people, I don't think, really even knew existed that far back. I think a lot of people think it only, Bracken Creek only went a quarter of a mile back. So it was awesome to show something like that, to say, hey, there's a lot of water here to be paddled in Augusta. And that is something we want to do with other communities too, where we can say, hey, you have a true water sport here that maybe hasn't been completely unlocked yet. No pun intended there with that. But so we have the next slide here. We have our breakdown of what we actually provide to these communities. So the cost is per unit. So it's a 3-pod kayak unit there. So that's how much we charge for each one. We have, compiled what other companies are sometimes charging. It's not a complete guarantee. Some may be more, some may be less. We also have here and that we own it. So that is where it becomes a little different. So we 100% own the kayaks and the kiosks. That means we maintain the risk. So if the kayak gets stolen or lost or damaged, it's us. We take care of it. The insurance, we are covered 100% in-house with us. We cover it. The buildings are fully metal. They're metal siding, and they're wood reinforced on the inside. All the kayak, kiosk, and storage options are all made here in the United States, actually in Alexandria. So we actually build these here, and then we haul those off to our locations. Routine service. So that's kind of an odd thing too. The routine service, we will go and service these kiosks every 2 to 3 weeks. The way we do that is we have a bait company that we also provide live bait to all these communities. If there's water, there's fishing. So we provide a bait route throughout pretty much all of our locations we have the kiosk at. So our guys that are going out and driving the bait routes, they will go and actually check on these kiosks. I pay them a commission to go check each one. They have an app. They go and unlock each locker. They check to make sure there's kayaks in there. They make sure they're clean. And then they go ahead and they leave the location. And that's usually getting service every 2 to 3 weeks. The kayak themselves, they have fishing pole holders on them, which is a pretty good additive. That's why we stick with the Perception Access kayak, because they all have rod holders on there. There's cup holders, a storage area. There's a padded seat, which is very important if you're out there for a while. When it gets down to advertisements, so we will go ahead and when these locations are in service, which the 2 that we just added this past winter, we have not done so yet because we don't want people driving there expecting a kayak right now. We will go ahead and create a Google page. We'll add it to our Facebook page. We add it on TripAdvisor and other locations like Airbnb. We try to add that information saying, hey, there is a kiosk near you. So that way people know what to do in that area, especially if it's an area that they're just visiting for the weekend. When it comes down to the way the buildings are made, they're 100% mobile. As I said before, each one of our kiosks, if they were left on location, they would be submerged in water. So we move those off location and place them in another location for the winter time. So that way we can have, we don't lose our kiosk. If you want to go down to the next slide. So this is just kind of going over what the personal storage locker looks like. There's dimensions. I can send out to any communities have any information or want information on what those look like. So that is the personal storage locker that you can use either for the season or all year long. If you want to go down to the next one, please. So this is the app that we use. We're looking to implement another app also. So this app here basically is where you sign up, pay, and then also it will track you too on the GPS to show, if there's an emergency, we can go out and find you, or if you're having an issue with a kayak, or it also gives good data information. Does not name who you are on there. It just shows me a bunch of lines so I can give a report to the community saying, hey, here's where everybody kayaked at this past season. And then this goes into what I was saying about Google pages. So we add a Google page so people can see it's open 7 days a week. And then we always try to add the hours based on when we believe there is the most light out. We try to typically say we're closed 2 hours before sunlight goes away. So that way people aren't out there when it is getting dark. And that kind of gets a little tricky because we try to be the first kayak company open, but the last one to close, which gets a little tricky with daylight savings because you start the season off and they're adding sunlight, and then you end the season where you have to keep taking hours or minutes off as the weeks go by because you don't want people being out there when it's dark. Next page. So what this adds to your community. So the biggest thing is if everybody's on here, you're probably near water. So you already have the number one thing we need. We need to get to who the decision makers are and what needs to be said or done for us to start the process with trying to get a kiosk or a personal storage option to your community. This is a pretty good additive to your community. I think it doesn't really cost very much, but then the risk is completely on us. We take care of it, we maintain it. It's not something that you have to keep focusing on. This is something that we can add this to a community that might not be utilizing the water as much as they would like to. This is something we can add to a community that already has paddle sports there, but wants to add an amenity of either rentals or storage options. That is what we try to provide to your communities to utilize their waterway. And then on here, I actually have, so it's actually cool. Most of these people are actually on this webinar. So I have some quotes on here from some community members. We only used ones that we had our stuff placed at this past season. So these are community members who wrote things saying, hey, here's what we think about Yaks. Here's what they have provided to our community. I'm hoping, we provide a very positive outlook on these locations. If there's anything negative, please let me know. I always am happy to take criticism. I would rather build my company better tomorrow than, keep building it the way we are if we're not doing something correct. So this is our contact information on here. If you guys have any questions, if you would like to have this added to your community, or if you want to just get us in your community just to go talk and see if there's any type of interest. We actually utilize, and I don't know if Janet knows this, but we actually utilize the Augusta kiosk. It's a trailer. So we utilize that all winter long. We drive that to all these communities and try to reach out to them to see if they have an interest in the kiosk. They're able to see what the kayaks look like that we place in the kiosk. They're able to see what the locks look like, and they're able to see what the app works like. The only thing they don't see is the actual building that we bring, other than pictures that I show them. So that becomes a really good asset. The Augusta kiosk travels all over the state and other states to be able to show off the product we have. And it's actually our first prototype, which is awesome that we are still happy to build off that foundation. And then in the summertime, it goes back to its home down in Augusta. And then in the wintertime, we start driving it around. We look at the wintertime as a building time of the year. So it may be cold out. It may be flooding right now. It's 17 degrees. This is the time of the year for us to come into your community and talk to your community members and decision makers. This is the time of the year for us to bring the trailer and show them the trailer. We try not to wait till it's warm, because when it's warm, we're busy, and we do not have nearly the amount of time that we do in the wintertime to get out there to council meetings or county meetings to go over our information. With that, I believe that is all I have. I set a timer, so I didn't go over. I talk a lot. I'm sorry. If anybody has any questions, I'm more than happy to answer them.
I think this is fantastic. This is Francis. So clarity, and I see a question in there. I'm going to ask the question that I had too. Can you store personal kayaks? No, you've got your own gear in there, which is fine. I can't rent a space in your tiny marina.
I'm sorry. So you're saying,
can I use my own personal equipment and get a storage locker for my own personal equipment? Can I?
Yes. Yeah, that's what the personal storage option provides. So you can place your equipment in there. Jen, who's on this call, she can help me out. I know she told me there's a lot of stuff that she's added to hers. And that, I think one of the things was, I think she said she had like a stool or something. She puts her water shoes, so you can put all your stuff in there. That is,
I can add in, Chris. This is Jen Shepherd from Newport, Kentucky. Chris was an answer to a prayer. I moved to Newport 7 years ago. Loved to kayak and kind of picked Newport because it's the confluence of the Licking and the Ohio River. I wanted to kayak, but quickly ran into the problem of I live a mile from the water, but it's terrible to load my kayak onto my car, take it down to the waterfront, kayak, and then do the same thing to come home. So yes, I have told Chris I had the storage and the rental got put in September of last year. And I currently have my kayak stored with Yaks. Yes, inside, as I got out there and kept kayaking, I kept thinking of different things to store in that unit with my kayak. So I have what you would expect, the kayak, the paddle, the life vest. I have a little like foldable stool now that I can pull out because I keep my water shoes in that unit and like a net bag, so it becomes very handy to keep everything that you need right there in with your kayak. And me living in an urban setting, I don't have a safe place, a place that's protected by the elements to keep my kayak and my equipment. And Yaks provides all of that. And I think for a very reasonable price too. Because when I was looking into this option, I looked at a couple other places that hadn't really thought about this storage option before, and kind of presented it to them, and they quoted me a price that was much more than what Yaks offers, and it wasn't as secure. It just wasn't as convenient, let's say, too. So this is a great option for keeping all of your equipment right there. You can drive there, you can walk there, you can bike there, you can run there and go kayak and come right back and put it all back away secure. You provide your own lock on the locker system, and it's there for you to access whenever you want. So thanks, Chris.
Yep, thank you, Jen. Like I said, I was hoping. So thank you for the insight on that. You are a customer of the personal storage locker, and that is awesome that you were on the webinar today to answer any questions that people may have on that side. So the best thing I can say for any community too, maybe your water isn't the best for rental, but it may be the best for storage. So all water ends up. We can find a product for you.
Hey, Chris. Hey, Chris, there was a question in the chat from Kendall Miller from Rising Sun about insurance. So how does the insurance work on it? Do you provide a certificate of insured, or does the entity have to provide insurance for the units and the people who rent the kayaks?
So I'll answer it two different ways. So one, we are fully insured. So we will actually provide you as a named insured. So that is part of we have now a checklist of what we do for all these communities. We are adding stuff. So some of you communities that have already been added to our list, you will probably hear from me soon of stuff we need to add for this upcoming season. We will add you as a named insured on our policy. The biggest thing we need is just to know, are we insuring the park? Are we insuring the city? That would be our biggest question. When it comes to insurance of your personal kayaks, that is on you. So we provide coverage for the personal lockers. If something happens to an individual to them, but if something happens to your kayak or something, that is the one part that we kind of throw out there as a risk of you are placing this in a kiosk or a storage locker. But so if it was directed toward the kiosk, there is a certificate of insurance that we provide to all our locations.
Hey, Chris, I have a quick question. This sounds awesome, by the way. Is there a vision in your business plan to have a system whereby you can rent a kayak at one location and go downriver and drop it at another location?
So we are working on one right now, and it is going to be a trial stage. I will let everybody know. So we are looking to add bikes this upcoming season. We looked to do it before. We ran into a lot of issues with with how we were going to be able to secure the bikes and what locations. We are currently working with a community nearby. Nothing has been officially made yet, but we are looking to have an option where you will get into a kayak and park your vehicle and then hop in the river with the kayak, get out at a location 2 to 3 miles away, get the kayak out and put it into a separate locker, and then get on a bike and then bike back to your vehicle. So we are looking at doing that right now. we are actually in the trial stage with another lock company of how they can make it work. And if we can get that to work, we are more than happy to provide something like that. The issue becomes, and the lock company is trying to figure out how to do this, with how you can have access to 2 different locks in 2 different locations, and they are figuring out a way to do it. We are just trying to get that trial stage started so we can start providing that. I think as soon as that happens, that will be a game changer in how these kiosks are looked.
That sounds awesome. Hope that happens. One of the questions I saw in the chat is if you have a service area, Chris, if there's certain bounds to how far you're willing to go, and if you have a map of the current locations.
Yeah, so as far as we want to go, we are trying to focus right now on 2 to 3 hours away. But I will say that if you have any interest, just reach out to me. I'm more than happy to spend some time on the phone and talk to you to see if that is something we can do. So we really don't have any bounds of where we want to kind of head to. We're trying to just focus on communities 2 to 3 hours away right now. But if you have something farther away, I'm more than happy to, reach out to that community to see if there's something we can do. As far as a map goes, we do not have a map posted yet of all of our locations. We are looking to do that as soon as we pretty much know where all we have our locations at. We have a lot of pending locations right now. So we are looking to have a map made, like a interactive map that you can get onto our website and see all of our locations throughout the tri-state area. We are talking to locations as far as away, maybe 3 to 4 hours away. So anywhere is an option. The farther away, the harder it becomes for us to service it as routinely, but we can also, stop and check in.
So Chris, there was a question from Mark Young about do you have plans to install kayak kiosks on tributaries? I know you're in dialogue with the Mill Creek Alliance about one on the Mill Creek, but go ahead and answer that question if you don't mind.
Yes. So the most of our actually kiosk locations are on side waterways, and they are streams that are either side creeks or they are going into the Ohio River. Almost all of our locations are on the Ohio River. So the biggest thing that I guess that I can offer to that question, we try to make whatever location we place these at the easiest for the paddler. Now, this is sometimes not the paddler who goes every weekend. This is a paddler who might go once every 2 or 3 years. We try to make it the easiest location for somebody to return the kayak to the kiosk. That is how we try to do that. If there's a strong current, that's probably where we would focus more on that bike option if we can do that. We've also looked at what the bike option would probably come where you could place a kayak in a separate locker and have somebody pick you up. The best thing to say, if there's a location you want me to look at it, I'm more than happy to look at the location. And I usually will reach out to the Army Corps of Engineers to kind of figure out water flows for that season. So I can kind of figure out how strong that current would be for somebody to paddle. I'm trying to look through all these chats here. So are you going to have, let's see here, a booth for paddling at the river routes? I know we are, we're going to do the river routes cleanup. I just lost that chat there. We're going to do the river routes cleanup. I don't know if we'll necessarily have rentals, but we have something I forgot to mention. We do have a trailer that we haul 30 kayaks in. So we could always do something there. I do not see Molly Williams on here from Thomas More. We did an event this past year with Thomas More. I know Forrest, you were there. Brewster, you were there. Might be a few others that were there. We provided kayaks to that community for free that night. And they just wrote us a donation a letter saying, hey, thank you for the kayaks. So that could always be something we could add to. I don't know where that location would be at for the river cleanup, for us to do like a rental booth. I'm trying to read through all these here.
Did I miss the answer? Somebody had asked about if the kiosks for personal kayak storage are large enough for an 18-foot sea kayak. Did I miss that answer?
Yeah, so the storage option is 12 feet. That's what we've been focusing on. We could do longer. The issue with longer is that it then becomes harder to move them. It would just depend on where that location is at. If we could place it in a location that's not going to flood, that would work, but it would just be harder to move an 18-foot building.
Thank you, Chris. Greatly appreciate your presentation there. I also see that Nikki Gerber has hopped on with Moon Donkey Livery. Nikki, if you'd like to speak about your plans. Nikki manages the livery in Manchester, Ohio, that does guided canoe expeditions and kayak expeditions. But I believe yesterday announced plans to work on some kiosks like these too. So Nikki, if you'd like to talk briefly. No worries. If not, I don't know if you're there, Nikki, but in any case, thank you, Chris. Greatly appreciate you hopping on to give this really valuable presentation. If anyone would, I saw some folks in the chat asking for copies of this PDF. Would it be okay if we shared that, Chris?
Yeah, I can send that out. If you want to send out the one I sent you, that works.
Perfect. We'll do that. All right, we have 9 minutes left in our coalition meeting here. Welcome any questions regarding any of the Ohio Riverway's work, and also welcome, my favorite part of all these calls, any updates from you all and news from your communities, opportunities you'd like to share, issues you'd like to talk through. It's an open floor.
Hey, Forrest, just real quickly, there were a couple of items in the chat. Jim Bishop talked about the Safe Bridges for All conference coming up in May. Check that out. Chris Lorenz mentioned there's an Ohio River photo contest with a prize up to $1,000. Maybe they should feel free to make a quick comment as well if they like.
Hey, Brewster, thanks for that plug. You're right. It is co-sponsored by our field station at Thomas More University, the Ohio River Basin Alliance, and the Pittsburgh Water Collaboratory. So it's called Biodiversity in the Basin. People can submit their photos, as many as they like, anytime between now and July 1. And we will have prize money, and their photos will be featured on the ORBA website, our other sponsor websites, as well as the ORBA Summit program. Thank you.
Okay. And since we just heard from Chris, it went out in the ORBA newsletter not too long ago that the Ohio Riverway and ORBA, in partnership with the Kentucky Waterways Alliance and the University of Louisville Environment Institute, are planning to do a joint summit this fall. The ink is not dry. There are many details left to iron out, but we are looking at October. We hope to have dates and venues for you all shortly on what this would look like, and we're incredibly excited. It'll be a one-time historic event, and our plan so far is to call it Confluence. So you'll hear more on that.
Brewster, thanks so much for the plug for the Safe Bridges for All conference coming up in May of this year. We will be looking at safe and barrier-separated pedestrian pathways for on all major bridges nationwide. And we're going to be focusing, of course, on the Big Four, because we are going to be in Louisville at the Waterfront Botanical Gardens. That's going to be our main focus. But we're looking at other bridges all across the nation. We're bringing in structural engineers nationally known from all the country. We're bringing in university groups, University of Southern Indiana and Evansville and Rhode Island School of Design. We've got quite a conference coming up, and you can register on our website, indianatrails.com. It's going to be quite an event, and we're looking forward to it. And we'll invite anybody who's not going to be on your great kayaking trip, which I wish we'd known about the timing otherwise. But anybody who's not going to be on the trip, we would sure love to have you come.
We will be ending in Louisville right as the summit is ongoing, so I imagine a crowd of us might pop on over. I mean, we'll be ending. Fantastic. genuinely like hundreds of feet from where the summit is ongoing. If you all are at the botanical gardens, we'll just be right at Waterfront Park next door. So
Well, yeah, we're going to do actually a walking tour of the Big Four Bridge on the first day. I don't know what day you're going to be there on the 15th. Is that when you're going to be?
yes, that Thursday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and there are a couple folks who put information about upcoming events in the chat. Paddle Perry and Rising Sun, Ohio County Tourism in Indiana, as well as the Ohio River Foundation. So please check the chat with more details about those upcoming events. Anybody else? Any announcements about things that are happening that you're all excited about in your communities?
Hey, Brewster, if I got a second here. I see somebody from Boone County Water Rescues on here. They have a night at the races. I don't know if that was mentioned on here. That is an event. Now, Boone County Water Rescue takes care of almost all of Cincinnati area, all the way. I don't know how far their jurisdiction really goes. But that is an event at BB Riverboats upcoming in March. So that if there's more information, maybe we can send out on that. They help make our summers fun and risk-free sometimes.
Yep. Excellent. And it's just announced that.
Brewster,
Go, Christy.
Yeah, so sorry, I'm driving now, so it's noisy. But in case anyone hasn't heard, the Conservancy finally, after 12 years, closed on 350 acres of beautiful riverfront property across from Lawrenceburg that will be conserved in perpetuity and will, in the future, will be a wonderful stop on the Ohio Riverway. And we are so happy and thankful to everyone that's helped us with that process. And that was a lot of you, so thank you.
Well, it's exciting what you've done in complementing what's going on in the Oxbow and what's going on, of course, in Lawrenceburg across the river. It's just like an incredible three-state nexus of wonderful conservation and recreation. Very cool, Christy.
Thanks.
Anybody else?
Yeah, Brewster, this is Kelly Rudolph.
Hi, Kelly.
Hi. So if anybody has events going on in Ohio, I will put my email in the chat again, but if you could email me the events, I can share them on the ACA Ohio Facebook page.
So Kelly is the elected state leader for the American Canoe Association in Ohio. And she's the top person for promoting paddle sports throughout the state. So Kelly, thank you. Yeah, do put that information in the chat. It's great to have you here. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Other folks, Susan Griffin.
Yes. Hi, everybody. I'm Susan Griffin Ward with Kentucky Waterways Alliance, and I also serve on the board of Ohio Riverway. Although I'm speaking now in my role at Kentucky Waterways Alliance, we have been working very hard to oppose Senate Bill 89 in Kentucky. If you are a Kentuckian and would like to help with this effort, you can feel free to reach out to me. We are concerned about it because it reduces the protections for Kentucky's waterways, which has a huge impact on recreation and therefore the Ohio Riverway and what we're trying to promote. Kentucky has some of the statistics we pulled together is that recreation in Kentucky generates 1.2 billion from fishing, 1.9 billion from boating, 1.3 billion from wildlife viewing, 1.5 billion from hunting, 343 million in state and local revenues, and 373 million in federal revenues. So it's a really important issue in Kentucky, and any support you can give towards not letting this pass is appreciated. Thanks.
Thank you. Anybody else?
I have something, Brewster.
Yes.
This is Tracy with the Ohio Clean Marinas program. This isn't happening down on the Ohio River, but we are a statewide program. So any marina owners, if you're interested in coming to the Ohio Marina Conference, it is on March 6th in Huron, Ohio. And we will be celebrating our 20th anniversary. And it's open to any marinas in the state. We would love to have the Ohio River marinas represented more. And, we can tell those Lake Erie marinas how awesome it is down south. So if anyone wants information, please reach out. Thank you.
Thank you, Tracy. And did ODNR cut off the heat over there? Looks like you're kind of cold in your office.
It's always really cold in
Oh,
here.
no,
Yeah.
I'm kidding. Okay. And before we close, just wanted to let people know that, as many of you know, the 250th anniversary of the United States is next year, 26. But in Cincinnati, on the 8th through the 12th of October, there's going to be a kickoff celebration. Basically, the first one of these celebrations in the entire country will be in Cincinnati, and it's kind of like a tall stacks event. There's 9 big riverboats coming in from all kinds of communities, and 5 stages, music, food, bourbon tasting, and all kinds of amazing activities. But one of the things that the organizers have asked us to do is organize a river cleanup, which we're going to do on the 4th of October, up and down the river on both sides, north and south of Cincinnati. But secondly, there's going to be a tourism expo. So there'll be a big tent in which we've cut a deal. We're working on the details now with the organizers that Ohio Riverway tourism bureaus can have space in that big tent over that 5-day period to exhibit and promote. There'll be they expect 600,000 people coming in, many from out of town, of course. So there'll be follow-up to you all about that opportunity. Okay, so just want to put that on your radar. Go ahead, Forrest. Anything else?
That is it for me. We will keep in touch via email. If anyone would like to stay on, we will stay on. But until next month. Thank you for hopping on today, and thank you again to Chris.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, folks. We'll have a water cooler conversation now if you want to hang out. No beer, just a coffee, right? Thank you all. See you next month. Oh, there were a lot of other announcements made there. Oh, Tom, how you doing, buddy? I saw you had a challenge with the dock, huh?
Yeah, a little bit of a challenge. Still out there in the river. Pieces of it, I guess. Can I get a copy of that PDF that that Mr. Chris Schack was showing so I can understand it? I think we're doing something like that in Adams County, if I'm not mistaken.
All right. Yes, go ahead, Forrest.
Yeah, we can distribute that. Thank you, Tom.
Okay, if you email it to me, then I'll have a little bit of knowledge about it. I was kind of concerned about when you put them on the river, do you worry about, people renting it and getting on the river and maybe, the current goes bad or something for them? And I noticed you was talking about water rescue services and stuff.
Yeah, I am. I defer to Chris to answer on how he approaches that safety stuff.
Yeah, so we typically try to put them on waterways that they're going to, like I said, easily be able to return to the kiosk. There is a GPS that tracks all the kayaks. So
okay,
if somebody did go out there and say, "Hey, I just can't make it back," we're going to try everything we can. Just say, "Hey, you gotta go back to where you came from." If we have to, then we have their location. We can go out and try to get them on shore somewhere, at a river camp or whatnot. So
that answers my question. GPS on them. That's good. Okay.
Chris and Forrest, maybe at some time you might want to reach out to the Louisville Waterfront Park people. I did talk to Deborah Belitsky about this, who's director, and that was her concern, being right there by the bridge, by the dam, and then McAlpin, even though the Beargrass Creek is right there. She just had a concern with the river. So as you collect data, and I think Waterfront Park would be a good location eventually. But I think those tributaries are the biggest ticket. I had a question I put in there. I worked very closely with the parklands of Floyd's Fork. And we have, it's about 25 miles of Floyd's Fork Class 1 river. And we did have a rental system there, but there's also a bicycle trail that connects to 6 canoe, kayak, boat ramps.
Okay.
And so the parklands of Floyd's Fork, and it's in eastern Jefferson County, but it is a Class 1 stream. So it is one way going downstream, and lots of riffles. And that's the challenge with there, is that it's high water and or low water, and occasionally perfect water.
Yeah, I have seen Floyd's Fork mentioned before on Kentucky Afield. I've looked into it. I know that as soon as we can get the bike option to coexist with the kiosk option, I think that opens up the door to so many other locations that we may have said no today on, but we might say yes in the future, because they would then be able to return back to their car without having.
Hey, Chris. Chris,
Yes.
Personally, I mean, that sounds great, but I don't know that it has to have a bike option. I mean, if we were going to use that, get on the Ohio River, take a nice paddle down 5 miles, get out, we would just take another car down there. And I think that's what a lot of paddlers do, anyway, along, these streams that you can't paddle back up. They just do that logistics, but then you're not hauling the kayak back and forth.
Right. I think the concern that I would have would just be, would everybody know that? Is my only thing. And I'm not opposed to trying things that are not normal, things that aren't being done by others. I could look into, if you have a location, I mean, let me know. I can look into see if that's maybe an option. The biggest thing is that the lock company can have you access 2 locks. They're trying to get it set up so you can access 2 locks. So they basically will send me, like, let's say a QR code that works for 2 locations. That's what they have to go back to their software to get that to work. Because they put so much time and money into making these locks so secure that they don't. It's not easy to just go make another QR code for them. So they're going back to their manufacturer to get that potentially become an option where you could have a kayak locker elsewhere that you could go to and drop it off. I know we were working on that with Indiana. And it never took off. We never got the actual lock company to say they could do it until later on. They said, hey, we just can't do it. So we had to go shop for another location. So we found another lock company that can potentially do this 2 lock system. When we can roll that out, that'll be big. I mean, there'll be a lot of locations that'll open up.
Yeah. So from an Ohio River Way perspective, and Brewster, Forrest, kick me if I'm wrong on this one, but we would like to see people engaging with the river in multiple ways. So that's why some people will just never go on the water, but there's all sorts of valuable proximity engagement that could be going on if you're on a bicycle. So adding that feature would be great in my book.
Right.
Well, and I mean, Chris, another thought could be the islands in the Ohio River National Wildlife Refuge. And there is a move afoot to sort of try to expand that to other islands. And so if one has a booth with a purpose and a destination to visit islands, like, for an example, Manchester 1 and 2, a pretty simple, straightforward round trip ticket. And it's very easy, it's a wide stretch of the river right there. Right. But U.S. Fish and Wildlife has a nice grant program to support sort of expansion of that. And they do have Friends of the Ohio River National Wildlife Refuge Association. So that might be a fascinating process to go forward and encourage. Charleston State Park has the 12-mile island right there and a nice boat ramp. So that's just a thought. I'd love to talk with you about that at some time.
Okay. That'd be perfect for Manchester, Tom. Yep.
Chris, on the cycling, it's a great combo with the kayaks, but it'd be great even on its own to have a network of cycles that can be rented.
We were looking to get those down in Augusta 2 years ago, and we just ran into issues with trying to get the lock company to work with our bikes.
We wanted to thank you very much for your sponsorship of one of the dinners on the challenge. One of the things we're looking at doing this year is, in the van that drives along with us, bring along 2 bicycles, which we do not have yet. So if you have a couple spare bicycles, that way paddlers could bicycle from site to site and have sort of a accommodation for additional numbers, but it would give those paddlers who are spending 10 days an opportunity to say, I'm going to go spend a day on a bicycle instead of sitting next to you.
And I'd flag maybe there's a potential partnership there with Weber Sports in Aurora, which to my knowledge is the only small river town bike club in our stretch.
Oh no, there's Maysville has one.
Maysville, okay.
There's several. Portsmouth has one. There's a couple of, and I think Cincinnati has a bike club. I'm not sure.
Well, we have
I'm
a
sure
lot
Cincinnati and Louisville do have plenty.
That was the joke. I'm sorry.
Wise guy.
Okay.
Hey, Linda, I see Linda Fester's still on. Linda, this kayak kiosk idea is a great opportunity for you all down the pike as you develop your new park. You're on mute. Yeah, can't hear you. Oops.
Yep, sorry about that. Yeah, Lester and I were just, Mayor Bear and I were just talking about that via text as we were listening to the presentation. This is why I keep my thing muted, because my dog is just crazy. But yes, we definitely are interested in that.
Well, Chris, just before we close, I want to let you know that I monitored the chat, and I know that Tom Cross, who's on right now with Adams County Tourism, was interested in following up with you. Kelly Hess, who's downstream in Indiana, is very interested in following up with you, as was the mayor of Maysville, Deborah Cotterill. Wanted to have you send your presentation to her. And then Jeff Bloom, who was the director of Claremont County Tourism, Convention and Visitors Bureau. So those are at least 4 entities that in the chat asked to get copies of your presentation. And
I had another one too that I was trying to read through the chat, and I guess as soon as somebody sent another one, I lost the chat. I found, after everybody stopped sending those, I found Sherry Broderick of Gallatin County. She wanted information. She wanted me to reach out to her, I guess.
Good. Okay.
I wrote down a few other ones. When people would post something in there, I would lose. It would go all the way to the bottom or the front. Yes.
Well, just can follow up or
yeah,
Sophie,
we kept the list.
Who wanted what? Yeah.
Okay.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I think we ought to bring this to a close. Sean, it's great to see you, buddy. Thank you for all you're doing there. And thanks for offering to distribute copies of the guide, of course. And appreciate
Brewster, one final last thing. Chris, I'm fascinated with your offer to reach out to rescue squads. And I don't know if that's a formal letter that you send to different rescue squads, or how do people know about that additional training?
So I'm currently putting together a training packet right now. I'm putting together a slideshow. I'm a state fire instructor. I've been one for 3 or 4 years now. So I teach at different, I've taught at Newport and at Alexandria. And then with our intern program, I did a lot of training when we had interns. So I'm putting together a training thing where I basically can come to your fire department, a volunteer night or a training night or your shift training on shift, and basically just kind of go over who we are, what we offer, and then kind of go over river emergencies. And then what I want to add to the slide is I'm going to add all these different communities that we have our kiosk in. So I'm going to add like specific things to that community. So like, for instance, like Newport, there's a certain channel we talk on. So I'm going to add that to a slide. So I can go through that slideshow and get to Newport and say, all right, here's the Newport slide, since I'm training at Newport. Here's the channel we talk on. Here's the river frontage we have. Here's our kiosk location. Here's our risk spots. Here's our points of hazard. And then here's our points of, if somebody does, get lost, here's where we think they would go. And that's all going off of water flow. So I'm trying to put that together this winter to take that to these communities. So we're not just, I just don't want to be a company that's at a community. I want to be involved in, cleanup and the growth of the community. I want to be involved in the safety also.
Forrest, I think it'd be a great thing for the Ohio River Way to really help promote those pieces and to maybe even help co-sponsor some of those meetings down the road, because I think it's an important piece for us. And if Frances is on the call, her significant other, or at least one of her colleagues, works for the Cincinnati fire crew and does rescues on the river. So I think there'd be a interesting opportunity there.
Yep.
Yeah, and then
Hey, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so I talked to my wife at Boone County Water Rescue, and she's interested in hooking up with you, Chris. I just sent you her information.
Yeah, reach out to me. I'll be at the event in March down to PV Riverboats. But if you guys want to reach out to me before then, I'm more than happy to, come and do a class or something. If you guys do training, I am a swiftwater rescue tech. I've been one for 3 or 4 years now. So, and I'm definitely very passionate when it comes to kayaking, outdoor sports, recreation. So I'm more than happy to reach out.
Yeah, and David's correct in that we need to make if this is where boundaries are going to be annoying because of the policy or what have you on one side of the river might be slightly different from the policy or what have you on the other side of the river. So I'm happy. I was just texting you whilst David was saying it, and Sean weighed in here. So if we could make it as state line, avoid the annoyances of, well, we don't do it over here in Ohio and you guys do it over there in Cincinnati, or whatever. So if we could make it as comprehensive as possible, that'd be great.
Well, one thing, that the city of Louisville and New Albany and Southern Indiana people have joint practices at the Falls of the Ohio because there's consistent current there. And so they have pretty regular swiftwater rescue trainings right there at the falls for both Southern Indiana and Kentucky. So, I think there's some opportunities.
Good. Before we close, I'm sorry, it was my fault here, but I see that Danielle from the Adams County Health and Wellness Coalition has had her hand up. I'm sorry.
Hi, everyone. Oh, it's not a problem. I raised it when David was talking about, the islands and making them a destination and different things. I'm brand new to the Health and Wellness Coalition. In fact, my membership isn't even 100% official yet. But I do know that there's a lot of things like that already going on out here. And there are additional partners. I'm still learning my way out here, but there are additional partners that are doing similar things. So perhaps this could be a panel discussion instead of just one business, because there's a lot of similar things. I know we have a canoe and kayak livery out here that also does e-bikes, that is working on, making the islands part of a series of destinations. They're establishing links up and down, working with, the Buckeye Trail Association to bring hikers along the Ohio River. I know I've been working just professionally to work with communities like Aberdeen and Manchester to try to create a bikeway. So, I guess I just, I'm amazed at the presentation today. I love the idea, but I think it's even bigger than just one business.
Absolutely.
So I just wanted to, just kind of give that flavor a little bit too.
Well, Danielle, would you mind making sure that you put in the chat your contact information right now? We'd love to continue the discussion. And we know that Nikki was on the call for a little bit at the end, and we tried to get her to make a quick presentation on the work that she does on the Ohio Brush Creek and the plans that she has for expansion. So we want to be very supportive and complimentary. And yes, we want to encourage more businesses to do what Chris is doing, because the vision ultimately, frankly, is every river community for a 300-mile stretch and ultimately beyond would have this kind of amenity available to the residents and people who visit too. So the more, Danielle, the more the
Nikki is very, very active in the Health and Wellness Coalition. I was actually just in some meetings with her yesterday, just planning things like Paddle Fest and stuff out here. And unfortunately, you mentioned about the dock being lost. Yeah, she and two of my neighbors were actually out trying to chase that down and bring it back, but it was not catchable, unfortunately. But I know she spent a couple hours. I was texting with her and she was posting on Facebook trying to flag the dang thing down, and it couldn't be done. So
well, just be clear, she's been amazing and incredible and a real pioneer in this work. And frankly, at this point, she is the only canoe and kayak livery that is close to the Ohio River that we're aware of. Chris used to have a similar operation in New Richmond, but has obviously changed his business model. So we want to be very supportive and encouraging and collaborative as any way we possibly can be. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. I think her original business plan had her opening in Manchester, if I remember the story right. But something happened with the site. I don't remember, but I do know she has a catfish tournament down there where she partners with another guy to do that. And it's just really neat. So
well, make sure
I won't
we
take
know,
any more time.
Yeah, make sure we know about your paddle fest event. We want to create a paddling series. Like imagine a poster that would have all the different paddling events up and down the river during the 25 season. So we want to put that on there, and also, if Tom is still on, we want to also capture all the fishing events that are happening, the fishing tournaments, and do a sort of a digital poster of all the fishing tournaments up and down the river for the 25 season. So paddling events and fishing tournaments
I think it's
to market everybody's stuff.
June 6th is our paddle fest, but I can email you guys.
That'd be great if you could
June
email
7th,
us,
June
that'd be
6th.
dynamite.
I'll email you when I get that confirmed.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, folks, we need to wrap up here, and this was a wonderful conversation around the water cooler. And we really appreciate it. And this is where the real business gets done, is after the meeting itself, it seems like. So, Chris, thank you so much. Great to have you with us. We just love what you're doing. And we want to encourage this to happen up and down the river, not only with you, but other partners who want to also play in this space. So, Forrest, anything else?
That is it. I'm going to shut the Zoom down so we can start a Zoom in a few more minutes on a different topic.
Okay. Do you have Danielle's contact information?
I do not. When I was briefly booted from the chat, I have it from the registration form.
Okay,
I can track it down.
Thank you. Okay, guys.
Take care. Good meeting.
Thank you so
Forrest,
much.
if you just want to send me information on the chat, I try to go through and write down notes of other people I missed, but I'm trying to reach out to some people right now too.
I was going to email the PDF out and copy you as I send it out.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. All right, perfect.
All right,
Take
thank
care,
you guys.
all.
See you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.